More artists are not held back by the industry, they're held back by the voices in their head. I'm here with my superstar P1 JJ, who helps rising music artists really awaken their ultimate confidence and finally step into the spotlight they were born for. So if you've ever had a dream, or you know someone with a voice the world needs to hear, this isn't just about music, it's about what happens when somebody finally believes that they're good enough to make it. Ooh, JJ, welcome to the channel. Super excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richmond, for having me. Great to be here.
Very cool, very cool. So let's start with this because I love your industry because it's so creative and I think most people understand what it is. But let's start with kind of a bit of your personal history with the music industry, and then I want to talk about what you do to help artists because I think it's so interesting what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I started playing really young in my dad's band, playing live different places around our local town, and eventually started my own bands and toured around New Mexico, USA, and had a professional career in my early 20s where I was actually playing hundreds of shows every year and begin, building fan funnels and ad campaigns and running all these big campaigns to raise money for albums and stuff. And, I realized that the ultimate aspect of the industry is that there's really no need for labels or anything anymore. We actually can do it independently on our own. And the key thing that really held me back was ultimately my own burnout, my own traumas, my own unconscious programming of this starving artist mentality that it creeps up on you, and it will sabotage everything you're doing. So eventually I burned out. I came to a point where, the struggle became way more powerful than the love for the craft and what I was doing. And this is where a lot of artists come to. They come to a place where they lose their fire. They lose their fire for what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it's just it's kind of a pipe dream at that point. And I want to shatter that old paradigm and bring in some new understanding about what is actually going to fuel their success and propel their future financially, spiritually, emotionally, relationships, all aspects of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, my daughter's picking up an instrument right now. She's starting to piano and I think she's pretty good, but I guess, if she goes out to the real world, it's like, well, you're 9 years old, you can't even play Mozart yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's 5 year olds like doing a whole thing like that, which is nuts. So for people thinking, oh my gosh, like I don't have the natural talent like they do. I can't make it because of that story there. I'm sure that happens a lot.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. And I'll say this, in my own journey, there was an aspect of I was really good at it right away. And it kept me from practicing as much, but a lot of the kids that practiced more eventually became better. And so there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson that those who actually are stay consistent and build the momentum over time and just keep going, keep going, keep going. They push through this barrier. And we even know, in neuroscience that there's this aspect of the brain that changes when you push through barriers of your life. When something's really a challenge where you reach that flow state that maybe somebody else reaches a little easier, but they get lazy. So you just keep going.
Mm.
And that's something that I learned from them, right? That's something I learned from my peers is how to keep going, how to keep going because when you have the natural knack, there's a tendency to say, "Oh, well, I got that figured out, and let me move on to the next thing." And that's really just an unconscious, program that's protecting you from more responsibility, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. That reminds me of a little bit of, I'm so grateful to my mum for being so hard on me. Because nothing was ever good enough, And I remember I got valedictorian in school and I showed her the mark. I came first. And she just said, good. And then she went on about her day. Like, what? I couldn't believe it. But that drove me, because I definitely wasn't the most talented, but it
Mm.
drove me to just keep going and just prove myself and become better and better and better and better. But had that been easy for me, where it's, oh yeah, I would have stopped. And so consistency, and sometimes the biggest benefit to you is actually you're not being the most naturally talented
Mm.
because it
Yes.
makes you hungry. So cool, so cool. Hey, so do you want to talk about because there's so many, what other attributes does it take? Because and this might be like a not the right correlation, but I see so many Australia's Next Top Model, I mean talent shows and America's top talent shows and all that kind of stuff. And not necessarily the best artists, like from a skill set, win. So what's that? What's the difference there?
Yeah, you know what? I think it depends on who's judging it, right? But ultimately,
Yes, the judges. Yeah.
it comes down to uh, in those paradigms, it really does come down to who's the most marketable, right? Who's the most,
Ah.
and this is something that is a huge lesson for artists, whether you're the most talented or you maybe you're just barely picking it up, but you just have a deep love for what you're doing. Being the most marketable is going to be what actually propels you forward. But the thing about that is that we have to be able to overcome those limiting beliefs that come up when we start pressing the button on an ad campaign or we start reaching out organically and interacting with our audience, and showing our
Mm.
face, showing up. And so this is where artists really get blocked, and to answer that question, the most marketable wins, but you'll see that many of them never even do anything with their careers because they didn't actually stay consistent and build it on their own on the back end. Not only this outer system that can be so powerful for you marketing, but the inner system, which is the strength and the power and the, endurance, the vision forward, leaving the old stories behind and embodying the new vision for your future, and recognizing what's possible. So those things are really what builds an artist to stay consistent and eventually win big.
So that internal drive. So is there a point where an artist needs to realize, okay, I need to be to some degree talented enough, maybe not the most talented, but also now I have to at some point put on my marketing hat too and learn that side of the business too. But that's why when you win a competition, they do all of it for you. You didn't really choose to do it yourself, and that's why you give up or stop because it's not something you chose. So, what are some limiting beliefs that transition an artist from being poor to now being like doing really well? Because you help artists become more successful. And when I say successful, it's like make more money, but I don't want to say that that's the real reason, like that's a real definition of success, but I mean that's a good benchmark, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, to be honest, that's what an artist really wants to feel like they're worthy of receiving. But that word worth is really the key there because ultimately artists secretly believe that they don't deserve money. They don't deserve it. They've been trained through history to believe that they actually don't deserve, they deserve to be paid a small amount to be the background music for a restaurant or a club or whatever it is. And in many ways that is legitimate in regards to, yeah, we want to have the artists bring in as many people into that audience, into that venue as they possibly can. And if they haven't learned the inner skills of knowing their worth, recognizing it's about building relationships, it's about building connections with people authentically and not just trying to get something from them, you know, there's an aspect of that healing, I would call it, that really does have to happen in the beginning stages before we can even start trying to market or start trying to make money. Otherwise, you're just going to continuously run in this loop of saying, oh, the strategy doesn't work. Strategy doesn't. No, it's you and your state of being. We hear Tony Robbins always talk about it. Change the state first, change the story, and then the strategy literally just unfolds. You can almost do any strategy and it'll work.
Mm.
And so it's about getting in the empowered state. And that is a science and a practice in and of itself, and we want to come back to our body. We've scattered our attention out into the creation through all these different dreams. Oh, I got to be a rock star. I got to make all this money. I got to do all this stuff. I got to, and this image that you want to portray that you are, which is really just a defense mechanism to keep people from knowing what you really think about yourself, which is, oh, I'm worthless. I don't deserve this. And so we want to start to break those things down and really get to the core, which, if we look at the quantum physics and all these different things now, we know everything's just light energy coming in and out of existence septillion times per second. So we're not just a meat suit that has to grind against this clock wheel endlessly. And it's that energy that we pull back to our body and become centered and present, where we actually begin to, we start to see a lot of results. We start to enjoy the game. We start to really build those authentic connections with so many people that, it's a way we could start bringing in that manifestation discussion into this world of musicians.
Yeah, yeah. And as you're saying that, because I'm thinking, um, I've been told that I'm tone deaf. I've been told that I have two left feet. I've been told all these things that, and yeah, I do agree. Like when it comes to music and lyrics, and I've got no idea and stuff. I don't know how people play music. But it fascinates me because I think very highly of artists who can create music from scratch out of nowhere. But then when it comes to creating the dream life, isn't it just the same thing? It's the same creation process. So
Yeah.
can you talk to us about the creation process and how it can translate from creating music to creating your dream life? Like it should be the same.
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. And this is something that's so prevalent for sure. You hit it right on the head right there, because ultimately artists go up on stage, they get in this flow state, and literally just pure magic happens and time stops. Everybody's in this magical place together. And they don't know how to do that off the stage. And the reason is because the music was before, it was actually an escape and a safe space for them to be vulnerable and let go and trust.
Mm.
And so in their life, many musicians, and this is not all musicians, but many musicians, they go through hard life. They go through ups and downs, and they're singing a song for the people many times, right? And so their story is about struggle. And if they live by that story of struggle, they're going to have dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional finances, dysfunction. And I know personally from experience. And so once we start to recognize that that flow state is accessible in every part of our life through that presence, through meditation, through vision boarding, through, breathing techniques and bringing that present back into the body and making it physiological, like so many, especially a lot of masculine, energies in the music industry that, we need to bring that energy back into the body so that we're kind of almost in that primal state again, in the sake of like the warrior mode, you know? And when that warrior mode is activated with a good balance of the right mindset and vision, we we begin to treat every part of our life in the same way. We're channeling it from a higher place within us that just unfolds like our music does. Because the music, any of the greatest writers in the world writing music, they will tell you that they didn't write the song. It came through them from somewhere, right? It was as
Mhm.
if everything was already there. It unfolded naturally for whatever reason. And people call it God, people call it source, people call it the energy, quantum field, whatever we call it. But it's a power that already lives within us. And if we scatter that attention in all these directions that bring us outside of our body, we lose traction, and we live by the old stories that this world has many times trained us to believe in, the starving artist. And
Mm.
so we want to bring it back to every part of our life where everything, the raising tide raises all ships, right? And so
Mm.
relationships, health, wealth, spirituality, creativity, all of it begins to balance out. And yeah, there's this beautiful quote. I can't remember who initially said it, but it's not about balancing the world and all of the aspects of your life. It's just about balancing yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That kind of comes back to the ancient like yin yang philosophy or inner peace. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because we're
It's
trying to juggle the external, kids, family, time, work, boss, this and this and this,
mhm.
health. Wow. Okay. That sounds okay. That is deep. That is deep. Talking about deep, because you take people through a 5 day transformational process. Like you do a 5 day challenge that it's done one on one. It's a tiny challenge with you, and it's free, I believe, but it means you can only take on a certain amount of people per month on the
Yeah.
free 5 day one on one challenge. I would say it's a one on one 5 day transformation. And so, can you
Yeah.
walk us through that? And maybe do you even cover balance? Because that was so profound what you just said.
Yeah. We start to first, what we do in this process is, yeah, we want to get your goals. We want to figure out what your vision is, where you want to go, what's really the problems going on in your life. But from there, it's almost always universal that the first step is that we begin to recognize this inherent nature of reality, that life is not working against you. If
Mm.
you start to recognize that every particle of existence is inherently vibrating with the same vibratory source that everything else is, and it's all striving for wholeness, togetherness, oneness, unity, we start to realize that that inherent nature is who we are as well. And it's only these old stories and identity beliefs that we have, that we're worthless, we're a starving artist, we're never going to make it. I just come from the trailer park. I just, all these different stories. We let go of those and we begin to replace it with some empowering language. We start to anchor that into the body. And we do some things that, what I call I am declarations, to begin anchoring it into the body. And sometimes that's like, hey, if you're a vocalist, you're going to sing that this morning. You're going to get up, you're going to sing that. And then ultimately, we start working on doing some meditative work, which is really casting a vision to the future so that we can stop living by the past and we can start really honing in our focus to be dead focused. And then we begin taking action on those action steps day by day, and ultimately people come out of this in such a way that and many times they're like, wait a minute, I don't know if that's my goal anymore. I think my goal actually now is I just want to build a really powerful community, a niche community around my music and just serve these people, play for them and serve them and show up for them. And, many times we work on doing like higher ticket offers for them, custom songs and VIP concerts and things like that, that are not about like mass producing something out into vast, everywhere. It's about really serving the community of people that is your soul tribe. And then from there, it begins to build out. Yeah.
So good, so good. And so by the end of the 5 days with you, what's a typical kind of transformation someone can expect?
Yeah. The typical thing is that people, for one, they're blown away at the information about, there's a lot of science involved, which is kind of cool. A lot of people are quite left brain these days. They need the science.
Yeah.
And so the science that's involved, they're like, wow, this is actually very practical. It's a lot of people call it woo woo, but when you've lived a life of, trauma and all these things, and all of a sudden at the end of the 5 days, you're crying with joy and bliss and same feeling you have on stage. There's nothing woo woo about it. It's real reality,
Yeah,
you know?
that's
And so
true.
they walk out of there empowered and inspired and ready to embark on an actual journey of service and sharing their music with thousands and thousands of people. So they're willing to take on the challenge at that point. They're willing to take on the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we was just really just, we as humans have failed to articulate the intangible world that we
Yeah.
li like there are things in this world you can't see, hear, feel, or touch.
Mm.
And that's 100% guaranteed because we're only limited by what we can see, feel, hear, or touch, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So that is
Yeah.
so cool. That is so cool. All right, so how does someone get in touch with you to be one of those people to sit in on your tiny challenge? This is so fascinating what you're doing. Would they need to comment down below or DM you? Like, what? How does someone reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. Comment down below or reach out to me in Messenger on Facebook is the best place. And it's the best place to reach out and just put in their empowerment challenge, and
Empowerment
empowerment
challenge. Yeah,
and
cool,
and that's
cool.
the way to get started.
So comment below empowerment. Just comment below empowerment, if you want to apply to be one of JJ's one-on-one 5-day tiny challenge participants. It's free. So he only takes on a couple of per month because he's only got all his existing clients as well. Plus he's got his life and stuff too. Or you can send him a DM because it's going to be his name is going to be tagged on this post here. So you see him, send him a DM and DM him empowerment, and that will he'll get back to you within 24 hours and make sure we go through the process to get you as one of the applicants to his 5-day tiny challenge. JJ, I did not realize how deep and philosophical you were, particularly with the quantum stuff and how everything's I'm not sure what I'm saying right, how everything's energy and the frequency and the vibration stuff. Dude, that really resonates. So appreciate you for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richmond. I'm really grateful for you, man. Thank you.
Very cool, very cool. Guys, reach out to JJ straight away.